to our IRHSP series. Last week we had tried a new tool, which let me get my map out. We had played around with doing our texture, but we played around with that light purple, and I will show you that color in case you forgot. So it's this beautiful color here. I love these pre-mixed colors. Normally I don't like to use pre-mixed colors that much. With the IRHSP ones, I did notice that they are a very good balance. They don't leave any kind of white chalkiness that I had noticed that sometimes the other premixed colors in the other lines can do. However, I've been very happy with it, and I've been having a lot of fun playing with them. And then the texture tool we used was using our lovely sea sponge, which I can put a link in the description. I believe that you can find a bunch of different ones on, well, you can find them anywhere, but on Amazon, they have some really inexpensive packs of these lovely sea sponges. I'm not sure if Irresistibles carries them or not, but I'll have to double check. But if they do, I'll also put a link in the description for that as well. And thank you again, Esther with Irresistibles, for sponsoring us in today's video. So again, thank you for that. But let's move on to our next step. So I want to continue playing with this lovely tool because it gives you an in-between look of your texture and your model. It gives you this kind of a blotchy effect when you apply it and then dry brush it out. So we're going to do that today, but instead of using our primaries, we're going to do the raspberry model. I always say that magenta tone is definitely that magic color that really can bring a lot of depth to a doll quickly. And we're going to give this guy a try so I can show you how that's going to work. I wanted to give a try with working with these guys and creating a wash to see what that consistency is going to be like. So we're going to do that as well. We'll mix it together. I'm not going to use it yet, but just so you can see how I mix it. And I didn't want to mix it without you, so I want to show you. So let's do that first. And then for you guys that were watching before, we had talked about these jars on our previous video, which I think are absolutely the coolest. My daughter got these off of Amazon, and I have a link in the previous video, but I'll put it again in today's video. They are 4-ounce jars, which have the nice lids that are airtight, which I thought would be perfect for using for washes if you want to try playing around with that kind of a consistency. And the colored lids are a great way to look at what you're grabbing. I don't know. I just thought it was a good idea. I thought it was cool, so I thought we'd give it a try. The other tool that I'd shared last week, we had got in our lovely little squeegee tools, which are amazing. Just so easy to work with, and I love the way that I can mix color with them. So we're going to start with that. Now, because I'm doing a wash, I'm going to do a fairly decent amount of our pigment. You can see how much we're going to start with. Get that in there, and then we're going to add our thinner. This is unfortunately the Mona Lisa. I shouldn't say unfortunately, but I was really hoping the Eco House would get here by now, but they're on back order, so they haven't arrived yet. I'm looking at June for their delivery. Now I'm going to add in an ounce of our thinner. That's the other nice thing about this is you can have really consistent measurement too. And then I'm going to mix this up, mix. I'm just going to get it off of my squeegee, move into our brush. I love doing this with you guys because it's a fun way that we can learn together. Now make sure you mix it well, be patient. It's gonna start out with that amount. I don't wanna go any more thinner, and I'm just kind of mix. And I'm gonna set that here for now. I'm gonna pick this up. I do like using this for picking the color up out of the jar. So we're gonna do another dollop of our pigment. And get that off, and we're gonna mix that up. So I've got 2 dollops of that pigment in here with an ounce of color. I was very curious to see how the consistency of the wash will appear with the pigment. And a lot of people have asked, well, why do you want to use your thinner? Isn't the liquid thin supposed to replace that? Yes and no. I mean, the liquid thin is fantastic for doing small details and for doing more of that vivid work and more of that work that you need the paint to be more suspended, where if you want something very thin like a wash, I personally wouldn't use the liquid thin. Nothing wrong with the liquid thin, by the way. Absolutely love it. But if I want a real thin consistency and want to do more of that wash consistency, I'm going to just use my thinner. And as for like the smell and all that fun stuff, that's where I'm getting really excited for that Eco House to come, because it is really a great product. I've really enjoyed working with it. Esther had given us all a little sample of it. That's this one through here, when we were in her class, and I fell in love with that one. So I was really eager to get that, play around with that. So I'm very excited to see how that wash is going to be. All right, so that is a really nice consistency. Again, with washes, you want them to be super thin. They are going to be super transparent because we want just that subtle color kind of building slowly. Now that we've got that, I just want to show you what that's going to appear like. And we'll just put it on my paper towel here. So there's your consistency. We did 2 small dollops of pigment with 1 ounce of our thinner. Mix really well. And that's where you got this really pretty magenta tone. And this one, we used the raspberry mottle. So I really like that. That's really pretty. So just for sake of seeing what that's going to look like, and I know that we're using the other doll, but that's okay. I wanted to show you. We'll do a layer on this guy just so you can get an idea what it's going to look like. And we're going to use Elijah as our test model for this, so you guys can see how cool washes can be. And I know I've said it before, I'm trying to get away from using them that much, and now with the liquid thin I'm able to do that, but it's still another option you can use, and it's still another technique or tool you can use. And we're going to start with the back of the head. Look at how the colors that I've already applied, the texture colors, have just gotten a nice pop to it. I love when you start putting it on and then it's almost just like those colors just soak up the next color, and it really comes out into a really pretty pigment. Not too bold, not too thin. It's just a very nice, soft consistency. Yes, I really like that a lot. Now, the difference though is you do need to allow the thinner to flash. If you're using liquid thin, that's where you don't need to flash, because it's not going to flash like you would have these guys. So you do need to allow the thinner to flash. Liquid thin is different. And I'm going to do the whole thing. So I just wanted to show you real quick that wash consistency, because I was thinking about it last time we were doing our video, and I was curious on how it was going to work out, and I was going to make one. I thought, well, what better way to do it than to do it with you? That looks good. Yeah, I'm really liking that. That's a beautiful wash. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I really like that. It's a very soft magenta tone that really helps richen up the previous layers and still building subtly. Give it a try. That's just another way you can do the irresistibles. So again, that was using 1 ounce of your thinner with 2 dollops of your raspberry mottle. Give it a try. I think you'll like it. You're going to use your mop brush and apply that onto your kit. I really like it a lot. All right, moving on. Right, now we're going to get back at our other baby. All right, we're going to use this raspberry mottle, and we're going to create that texture so that we can play around with our lovely little sea sponge. And I'm going to put that little dollop here, and I probably got too much, and I'm not worried about it, because any excess paint or pigment that I have behind after completing that round, I usually will put in my little palette here that I reuse as I need it. All right, as for mixing properties, remember with the liquid thin, less is more. And so we're going to add a few drops of our liquid thin, basically to equal the amount of pigment that we have down on our palette. That is a really pretty color. That looks nice. And then we're going to add a few drops of our thinner. We're gonna start with that. Oh, we got 4 drops. That's okay. Mix. I always mix the liquid thin in it first. I find that it helps the pigment to become really creamy, and then put in the thinner. It works very nicely. Just helps suspend the color and blend it out really nicely. Now, if you hold your palette up, you'll notice how suspended that pigment is. We want it to be able to run a little bit, so then we're gonna add a few more drops of our thinner. Okay, so we did 3 more drops of the thinner, and that's looking really good. I wasn't sure if I wanted to experiment and do an entire wash on this next layer, but I think I want to just continue on doing our texture and model and the other ways we apply our paint, such as our lovely sea sponge. Let's try that. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So that's about the consistency you want, okay? Just so that it runs on your palette, but it leaves behind a little bit of that pigment. So that's a nice consistency. Now we're gonna grab our texture sponge. I'm gonna use my 1/4 inch flat brush. This is a flat shader, number 12 with Master's Touch if you wanna do the exact same brush. And again, I will put links in the description where you can get either these tools that I'm using, or if I can't find them, the exact ones, I will find equivalent ones for you. We're gonna apply this onto our sea sponge. I'll start it out by doing this brush motion. I typically don't want to do brush. I like to do more of that tapping. Add that on there. We're gonna get our lovely little guy out, and I'm gonna start with the back of the head. And that is gonna look so cool. I really love this color. Make sure you get behind the ears, in the ear. I am keeping my spacing relatively tight for this one. It's almost overlapping a little bit. Go behind the ear. Now it's up to you. You can either blot this out so that it has more of a blotchy appearance, which I'm going to be doing, or you could leave it if you wanted to. When it comes to painting, anything is really acceptable. It's what you are envisioning, so you don't have to do any one particular method. You can take a little bit of this or that and combine it and make it your own and do what you want to do. So this is what we're going to do for this guy. I'm going to apply that on, and then I'm taking my dry brush, and again, this one is the Eco Tools. I believe this is the foundation brush. I'll put the link in the description, and I'm just blotching that out, softening that up so it gives more of a blotchy appearance. That's looking really good. Isn't that pretty? That is so nice. I really like that. So that's the raspberry model. So if you want to avoid having to find the perfect balance using your primaries, give the raspberry model a try. I really like it. It's a very pretty color, and if you mix it right, it has endless possibilities. Add a little bit more onto our sea sponge. I'm so excited to see the final results for this baby, you guys. So exciting. Start with the top of the head. I gotta remember to look at my camera because I forget that I sometimes float out of view, so I apologize for that. On top of each other, twist, 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 literally keeping those prints together, overlapping. I always do the back towards the front and then do a perimeter around the face and then enclose in on the face. So that way, if you have any of that pigment that's too bold on your sponge, you can slowly distribute it evenly and then go on nice and soft around that face area. Or you can add more and make it a little bit more bold, whatever you want to do. And I'm just gonna tap. You can see that I'm running out of that pigment, but that's okay. I'm gonna just start with my face and blotch that out. Through the side, doing the top. If you guys are enjoying these videos, reading your comments and getting your feedback definitely keeps me motivated and gets me excited to make the next video. Look at how pretty that is. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love that. All right, now I'm just looking at the face. Do I want to add a little bit more? I think I'm going to go just a tiny bit more, going with what we had talked about with our last video by using a different tool versus just sticking with your texture or model sponges, meaning moving into doing like different sea sponges or different tools of that nature. You can create a lot of different depth in that appearance. So with this guy, you can use this as your base to create different little stork bites like we talked about last time. I'm gonna go and give this guy a little bit of stork bite right in through there. On that, go on the cheek a little bit more, through the nose. Okay. upper lip. All right, now I don't want to do too much blotting right in through here because I want that to start looking more like a stork bite. So I'm going to blotch out everything around it other than that portion itself. So that way it's going to have a little bit more of that vivid stork bite. You can see how it is on the eyelid right in through here and how it comes up. And then when you add your other layers on that, it really softens everything out. So that's looking really good. I really like that. Super cute. Then what I will do is I will take in my lovely little tools. Let's see here. We're gonna go with our angled brush and I'm gonna get inside the nose. And I'm not worried if it gets on the outer edge of that nostril. Not a big deal. Tap, tap, tap. And do this side, tap, tap, tap. I absolutely love this paint line, you guys. I am really having fun with it. I'm gonna go in our ear in just the deepest portions of the ear. Use that angled portion to get the inside of the ear that's on the back here, because sometimes that can be left unpainted if you don't get the right angle with your brush. So we want to get in there and get the back of that really good. Tapping that out, and I'm just going to drag it up into the curvature of the ear so that way it's just a soft pigment. Doing the underside of the flap and doing the underside of the flap on this side, bringing that around. Doing the same on this ear, tapping that color. Doing good. This little peanut too, by the way, is going to be at our booth when we are at the West Coast Doll Show. So if you are interested in adopting this little peanut, this one will be available at our booth. And we are booth number 32. So I'm super excited for that. Okay, bringing that around into the flap, getting that underside. Going in through here, tap, tap, tap. That looks good. I really like that. All right, we're gonna move on to doing the arms and the legs. Again, for the purposes of timing of this video, we'll just do one arm and one leg. And then when you guys are at home, you can do the rest of that. All right, moving on to our limbs. That out of the way for a minute. If you notice that your thinner has evaporated halfway through, a quarter way through, whatever, if you have noticed your thinner has evaporated at all during your painting process and it's no longer having that runny consistency and that it's back to being quite suspended, add another drop or two of the thinner to get it to the consistency you want. I want to add just a drop or two. Let's start with a drop here. Do one more. Okay, I just did 2 drops. And use my little squeegee here. There we go. That's better. So what happens is when you're using your thinner in combination with your liquid thin and your pigment, the thinner will inevitably flash. For those of you that are new and you're not quite sure what all that means, flashing is meaning the thinner is evaporating and leaving behind the pigment. So when that thinner evaporated and the consistency got more suspended again, what happened is it left behind the liquid thin and the pigment. So that is a perfect consistency to do like details and all of these other little things or creases and things of that nature, where if you wanted to, you could leave it that way. But because we're still doing this layer, I am going to add a little bit more of that thinner. All right, I'm going to work on the top portion of this leg, overlapping. All right, sorry, my screen ran out of room. I had to make more room. All right, so we're going to take our dry brush and we're going to go over that texture, blotting that out a bit. Okay. Gonna pick up more of our color, tapping that back onto our lovely little sea sponge. All right, and moving on to the bottom portion of the leg. Overlapping everything. You're gonna do the entire foot. Get into those creases. Sometimes I'll like use the toes on the counter so that I have a little bit of pressure that will push against me a little bit, and then do those toes last. Gives me a little bit of resistance. Okay, take your dry brush and blot that out. All you're doing is dispersing that pigment so that way everything is nice and soft, versus having this real glop of color just sitting there on the surface. Softens it all out, but still gives it a beautiful texture. Okay, I'm just checking out everything. That's looking really nice. All right, I'm liking that. So I'm gonna move on to the arm, doing the same thing. Just gonna mix this up a little bit. I love this color, that raspberry mottle. That's just a fun color to work with. Like I said before, that magenta tone is just like the magic color that really brings a lot of depth to the texture really quickly. And depending how you apply it or mix it, you just have endless possibilities of getting creative. Gonna start at the top of the arm, overlapping. Going over that elbow, inside portion of the arm. Blah, 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 until I'm happy with what I see. Make sure you get inside that flange area too, because you want it to almost overlap the edge, because you don't want your color to start just past that edge. You want it to be on the edge. So I often will paint the inside portion of that. It'll overlap to the top. That way it'll look a lot more soft. All right, dry brush that out. Picking up a little bit more color to do the bottom portion of the arm. Tap, tap, tap. And we still have plenty of that pigment left for the other arm and the other leg. And I might have a little extra that I can throw onto our paint palette to do some details with. All right. Gonna get inside the palm of the hand. This is where I gotta be careful because I don't want it on the actual nail bed, but I want it on the tip of the finger or the underside, but I don't want it on the nail bed. All right, overlap, bring it on the top of the hand, go through there. Gonna get in the side of that finger. There we go. Get on the inside. And if we need to add a little more color, you can add a little more color, but I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. All right, then we're gonna blot that out. Rest the hand on the surface. I'm almost using the nail bed itself to give me a little bit of tension. Okay, I really like that. All right, so there we have it. There's your arm. So for you guys at home, you're gonna go ahead and finish the other leg and the other arm, and then we're gonna move on to the next layer. Keep track of where we're at on our color map. Let's move this over. We're gonna add a little color on here just so I can map it out. And here we go. There we go. And we've got one layer of this. All right, you can see all of our colors coming to life, doing our texture and our mottle and undertones. And then the one thing I did not do on the limbs that I did on the head is the detailing. For your detailing, if you wanted to, you could go back using more of a detail brush like this guy, pick up a little bit of that color and paint your toes. And I will go just above the nail bed, getting along the edge. And that was the one thing I had forgot to mention, was the details. doing the bottoms of the toes, getting around those toes in the crease there, avoiding the actual nail bed. That's the one major area that I usually will hit as we are starting. And typically I like to do this underneath my magnifying glass because I do have a little bit harder time seeing. Once we get done, I will double check everything looks good. I'm gonna also hit a little bit of those raised areas on the foot, and I'll go between the creases, not in the creases, but just between it, tapping that color on to start our base of our blushing. And right through here, tapping it all the way around the toe. Blot that out a little bit. That looks really good. But there we have it, you guys. You'll do that same technique for the fingers if you wanted to. Go through here just to show you. And I'm gonna paint that. Now going around the nail bed, but I'm hit underneath. I'm gonna go right in here just a little bit, kind of between those creases where you're used to putting yellow. I'm also going to hit it with a little bit of that raspberry color, the top portion of the fingers. Okay, I'm going to go in the sides here, bringing it around the front, hit that crease a little bit. And that is about the extent I'm gonna do for building the base of our blushing. All right, for you guys at home, go ahead, do the other arm and leg. If you would like to start with your base of your blushing, now would be a great time to do that. Recapping, we have finished our next texture layer using the raspberry mottle. Previous to that, we had used the light purple. So this is what we had done with our sea sponge. All right, if you guys are having fun and you're learning something new, please make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell so you get notified when I upload our next video. I usually try to do that as frequently as I can. My goal is to be able to upload a video each week. However, life happens and sometimes it might be every other week. But thank you again for watching. Thank you, Esther with Irresistibles, for sponsoring today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please put those below. I love reading them. It definitely helps me be able to get creative and make some videos that are going to be pertinent to what you're looking to receive or learn about. For those of you that are new, welcome to our channel. I appreciate you jumping in. And we have started a new membership tier. So if you're interested in getting in on some of the additional videos that will be exclusive to our members, please make sure to go check out our memberships. It's very, very reasonably priced for lots of fun things that we're going to be doing coming up. Thank you again, you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.